Hello, Rama Pupodu. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, wonderful, having a happy and peaceful life. Now let's continue with the next devotee, Chinnaswamy. It is perhaps appropriate here to quote what three remarkable devotees of Bhagavan told me about Chinnaswamy. This is what S.S. Cohen told me. Chinnaswamy joined the master in 1917 at Kanda Ashramam with a view of dedicating his entire life to the service of Bhagavan. In 1930, he was made the Sarva Adhikari of the ashramam and managed its temporal affairs. Since then, and until his death in 1953, he worked tirelessly and with exemplary devotion for the welfare of the ashramam. This necessarily meant that Chinnaswamy had to stand firm and struggle hard to save the ashram's rights during litigations and court cases as well. The present Ramana Ashramam and all its contents owe their existence entirely to his labor and iron determination. How thrifty he was in the ashram's interest can be judged from his last message given a day before his death to his successor and son T.N. Venkataraman. Chinnaswamy said, I am departing with a clear conscience and clean hands. I have not used a penny from the ashram funds for my own benefit. Everything here belongs to Bhagavan and should be guarded with care and vigilance. Devote yourself heart and soul to the service of Lord Ramana, and in return, I assure you, he will shower his grace on you. Be sincere and truthful to the core of your being. Uphold our referred ancient traditions with the working of this ashram as I have upheld them all my life. This is what Major Chadwick, who stayed in the ashramam from 1938 till his last days, told me. Without Chinnaswamy, there could have never been a Ramana ashramam at all. He raised it from a grass hut to an ashram of solid stone. He was full of zest and worked hard and tirelessly. His one joy was to feed the devotees visiting Bhagavan with good and nourishing food. For us ashramam residents, he was like the protective metal shield used by soldiers fighting in the battlefield. Therefore, unmindful of the happenings in and around the world like wars and earthquakes, we plunged into our inner sadhana undisturbed, thereby getting purified day and night in the spiritual presence of Bhagavan. Arthur Osborne always stayed outside the ashramam because he lived with his family. Since Chadwick lived inside the ashramam, I felt at that time that as a resident he would probably support the management. So I went to Arthur Osborne for a more objective view. Arthur Osborne told me, for me, there can never be a better management than that of Chinnaswamy, for he was my gracious master, Sri Bhagavan's choice. In his devotion to Bhagavan, he did not evaluate Chinnaswamy's management. Instead, he went one step further and said, since he is my master's choice, my mind does not work on evaluating whether it was good or bad. There simply cannot be a better management for me. With great reference to Chinnaswamy, I want to share some of his unique achievements. Bhagavan's birthplace at Tiruchuli is a very sacred place, and it was lost because it was auctioned off. When Chinnaswamy became the manager, he took great pains to secure that house and make it a shrine for Bhagavan and Bhagavan's parents to be worshipped. He named it Sundara Mandiram, and it is still there in Tiruchuli. Another achievement which we cannot forget is that he managed to obtain the house where Bhagavan attained self-realization. Through his death, experience. He struggled very hard to buy it and finally converted it into a shrine named Ramana Mandiram. Mandiram means most sacred shrine. Both these places are now pilgrim centers for devotees of Bhagavan to visit. 50 years after Bhagavan arrived in Arunachala, Chinnaswamy wanted to celebrate the occasion in a grand way. Thousands and thousands of people were fed. Great scholars from all over the world came and paid their tribute to Bhagavan. The best musicians were called in too. Chinnaswamy's wish was that Bhagavan should have the best of music, food, and everything because Bhagavan had not moved from Arunachala. Details of these celebrations can be found in letters from Ramana Ashramam, but I remember this personally because I was 10 years old at that time and witnessed it all. Chinnaswamy's greatest achievement, according to me, was that on the golden jubilee of Bhagavan coming to Arunachala, he got the temple elephant to bestow the temple honors on Bhagavan. Why the temple's elephant? Among all those present on the golden jubilee day, the temple elephant was the only creature that was with Bhagavan when he arrived in Tiruvannamalai. There is a 1,000-pillared hall in the Arunachaleshwara temple where no one used to go because it was dark and frightening. An elephant was tied there, and this was where Bhagavan was seated. At first, many urchins troubled Bhagavan in his meditation. Therefore, he chose this secluded spot. Bhagavan used to say that the elephant was his sole companion in all those months. Chinnaswamy, remembering this, brought the elephant to pay him its respects. In 1949, another devotee brought the elephant again, and an American devotee took a photograph of Bhagavan with the elephant saluting him. When he went back to America, he sent that picture with these beautiful words written behind it: a big self which does not know the body, meaning Bhagavan, and a big body which does not know the self, meaning the elephant, are both in one place. Bhagavan read it out much to everyone's enjoyment. In 1949, Chinnaswamy performed the Kumbhabhishekam, the consecration ceremony for the mother's shrine. Though Bhagavan had no liking or aversion to ceremonies, he actively took part on the request of his devotees. This ceremony went on over 4 days and was beautifully organized. Thousands of people were fed, and after its completion, Chinnaswamy distributed gifts to all those who had worked for the success of the celebration. One group of people who used to adore Chinnaswamy brought him to Bhagavan's presence and placed a chair for him in front of Bhagavan. As Hindu admirers are emotionally wont to do, they wanted to wash his feet and adorn them with flowers. When Chinnaswamy saw this, he refused to sit on the chair. He cried angrily, "This Pada Puja can only be done for one who is not aware of the body. I am not fit for this. I still have body consciousness." He pointed towards Bhagavan and said, "Here is Bhagavan. He is the greatest. No one deserves any credit except our master, Bhagavan." There are some interactions between Bhagavan and Chinnaswamy which throw better light on their close relationship. Once, Bhagavan's birthday was to be celebrated, and on the day before the celebration, the residents realized that there was no provision in the store. Hundreds of people had already arrived, and Chinnaswamy was unnerved. He did not know what to do. There was no money and no time. He began to panic and ran from pillar to post. Bhagavan was in the hall with his devotees. At midnight, a big bullock cart arrived and unloaded rice, lentils, oil, and vegetables and drove away. However, all the residents were asleep, and there was nobody to cut the vegetables and cook the food. Bhagavan understood this, and with his wooden staff, gently prodded all the sleeping residents awake, saying, Chinnaswamy is struggling there like a cat that has put its mouth into boiling milk. Let us help cut the vegetables. Bhagavan and others cut the vegetables and cooked meals for the next day. Needless to say, Bhagavan's birthday celebration went off beautifully. There is some controversy surrounding Paul Bruton, Munagala, Venkataramaya, and Chinnaswamy, which I would like to clear. It is recorded that Chinnaswamy rudely stopped Paul Bruton from recording conversations in the hall. He is said to have done the same thing to Munagala Venkataramaya, who recorded the talks which are now compiled in Talks with Ramana Maharishi, a must read for all devotees. It is true that Paul Bruton was stopped by Chinnaswamy. This was because Bruton had started taking notes in Bhagavan's presence and was selling them without even mentioning Bhagavan's name. He even made statements that Bhagavan was popular because of his book. When Chinnaswamy got to know of this, he marched straight to the hall where Paul Bruton was seated and told him point blank, "Stop it. You do not carry the right to do this anymore." Bruton was furious and he turned indignantly to Bhagavan and asked, "Is this the view of Bhagavan also?" Bhagavan was silent. Similarly, when Munagala Venkataramaya took down Bhagavan's talk in a notebook, he would gather a group outside the ashram and try to impress them. When this came to Chinnaswamy's notice, he came into the hall and stopped him in Bhagavan's presence. Munagala Venkataramaya was also deeply hurt at being insulted in the glare of public eye. Later, when Munagala was with Bhagavan, still feeling slighted, Bhagavan said, "The greatest form of ego for an individual is to present himself as a teacher and become a guru." Understanding that this message was for him, Munagala immediately prostrated before Bhagavan and begged him for his forgiveness. Bhagavan saved him, and Munagala himself later said, "When a true seeker becomes a teacher, the first casualty is his own advancement in sadhana." I was in touch with Brunton and he admitted that he went to Bhagavan and apologized. How beautifully Bhagavan corrected them and nudged them back into their sadhana. Both Paul Brunton and Munagala Venkataramaya attained self-realization in their later years. Because this was Bhagavan's purpose, horizontal expansion took place when Munagala Venkataramaya and Brunton popularized Bhagavan's teachings and Bhagavan gave them vertical expansion. For this, Chinnaswamy was used like a rough washerman's stone to beat away their flaws. This is something that Munagala himself told me. He used Chinnaswamy as a washerman's stone. We all blamed Chinnaswamy, but it was Bhagavan saving us through him. There are so many instances I could share, but one concerning Annamalai Swami is especially important. Annamalai Swami was responsible for masonry at the ashramam, but could construct only ordinary buildings. When Chinnaswamy began the construction of a temple, specialists were brought in from all over South India. After the construction started, there was a technical difficulty which Annamalai Swami could not resolve, but he still wanted things done his way. The temple specialist and Chinnaswamy did not agree with him and he was told to leave. This is what Annamalai Swami shared with me later. For all outward purposes, it is true that Chinnaswamy quarreled with me and dispensed with me, but I realized later that I needed this treatment. Otherwise, I would have been an eternal builder inside the ashramam all my life. Recognizing this, Bhagavan commanded me not to come within the ashram premises anymore. The fact that it was not a reprimand from Bhagavan was proved when Bhagavan visited me almost every day at my residence in Palakuttu and encouraged me in my austere living, sadhana and circulation. What a blessing it was to have Bhagavan personally instructing me alone in my cottage. All this, I can honestly say, I owe to Chinnaswamy for firing me. I plunged inwards and had the inner vision that our Bhagavan is truly the I am. Okay, folks, let's continue in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Pupodu.